All right, take 4. Got one dog muzzled. Let's see if they stay quiet. This morning I was meditating and I had a inspirational thought that if Jesus were on Yeshua were here walking the planet right now, that he would not be found in a church. And I recorded a message the other day, but I forgot to upload it, so I'm going to upload that one as well. It's not on Jesus, but I don't remember being on Jesus, but it's very similar. This kind of relates to it. So I had a really wonderful conversation with a client yesterday, and I think he was kind of reaching out to me about his faith, and we were talking about politics and the changing world, and why I stopped going to church, and and so I told him that honestly I stopped going because I felt like I couldn't worship next to people. I still wanted to like people and I wanted to think well of people, but I could not worship sitting next to people that voted for and supported 45, someone that I personally view as evil, and even at that point, at the beginning of that term, and then subsequently throughout all the stuff and the corruption and everything. Okay, I am permitted my opinion too. Those of you who may think a little differently, but I see a lot of evil, and I see a lot of evil that's come, and there's even greater evil now. But anyway, so he was talking about how he was like, oh, see, that's why I don't get into politics, because, see, the politics divides. And I was like, well, no, it's not politics that divides. Like, for me, politics is everything, right? There's politics in everything. And he's saying how politics divides, and how stuff needed to be done by the church, and when the church did stuff, everything was so much better. And everybody wants to hang out with me when I'm trying to record. And so and so what I was saying is that everything is shaped by politics, and even the church is a political organization. And because a good many of them listen to the same things and are influenced by the same perspectives. And this is a very frisky kitty, and she likes to fight. So we got her. She was a day old when we got her. And she's an alley cat, right? She thinks she's an alley cat. She spent one day on the streets, and she really believes she's an alley cat. She is feisty as heck. Aren't you? But she doesn't go outside. Unless somehow she runs out. Like today I found her out in the backyard. I don't know. But anyway, and so he was talking about how, politics separates people, and it's all about the heart, and the church should do things. And when the church did stuff, it was so much better. And how things happen because of a breakdown in family, and so I was explaining to him how political the church really is, and how you can't really say that you don't do politics as someone who considers themselves a Christian, because what you believe has an influence on our politics, and because it also determines things that you vote for. And depending on who you're listening to, you don't really think through the repercussions of what your vote means, and how many many people who go to church adhere to or follow the term pro-life, right? And so I was explaining to him how pro-life, that term, it says one thing, right? But the reality is totally different, because pro-life doesn't mean that these people care about life. What they care about is not having abortion. It's more control of a woman's body, or a female's body. And how, because if it was pro-life, then these same people would care to make sure that they're voting for policies that support after that baby is born, right? Let's say it's a teenage mom. These teenage moms, they have babies, right? They're many places they now are forced to have babies. So they have these babies, right? But people vote against policies that allow them to have SNAP, that helps provide food, right? Many places, these kids don't have money for education, right? There's no education resources for them. There's no housing for them. If they're living, you have a 15-year-old that just had a baby and they're in an unsafe environment, there's no money for them to live in a better place. There's no money for them to be educated. Oh golly, sweetie. There's no money for them to be educated so they can take that child out of poverty, right? That's all politics. And how being pro-life that's not pro-life, because it's caring about a life. It's caring about how people live. It's caring that people's needs are met, not that a child is born. And the whole policy behind that, is that there is wealth in poverty. And so if you keep people poor and you keep people having lots of babies, then there are too many people, right? And so then you get very cheap labor force, right? You keep people uneducated, you get a very cheap labor force. And those are policy things. And even the perspective. And so he was talking about the family. And and the thing is that people are persuaded through, church is a place where you get a lot of people together, and it's easy to move the masses with a perspective. Maple's coming again. And so I was explaining to him, I go, so often it's taught that more liberal places, are worse off, right? There's more crime, there's more teen pregnancy, there's a really issue with the breakdown of the family there, right? Because these people are independent and they don't necessarily believe everybody needs to worship Jesus and God and the church, and and there's other people of other religions and yada yada, right? And so I was explaining to him how, it looks like, because of the perspective that is pushed to you, for instance, right? Mississippi, there are 7 states, right? All red, that have over 20 plus per 1,000 teens. The teen pregnancy rate is over 20 to 1,000, right? For every 1,000 young women, teens, you get 20 pregnancies or something. 20 in Mississippi is almost 28. It's really, really high, right? But when you look at there's like 20 states, mostly blue, right? New Hampshire, Vermont, Massachusetts, Connecticut, Maine, Rhode Island, Minnesota, New York, California, Washington, Utah, Oregon, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, that all have under 20. No, it's under 10. Actually, it's under 10 per 1,000, right? So that's less than half. So these states, there are other states, a lot of states that have over 20, right? Mississippi has 20, let's say 28, because it's 27.9, so we'll say 28, right? And these other states, these blue states, have, or these liberal states, I hate saying blue because I don't really consider myself a Democrat. Okay, anyway, but these more liberal states, right, have half the pregnancy issue, less than half the pregnancy issue. But because there are more people who live in these states, it looks like there's a bigger problem. So, they have less than, than 10 per thousand. And then you have those who have over 20 per thousand, right? So that's like over double. But yet, one state has let's say 25 million people in it, right? Or more, 45 million people. So you're going to see more teens, right? Not because it's a bigger issue in that community, but because there are more people. Where in the places where you have less people, it's a higher issue. It impacts greater parts of the community because it's more people in that community. And but things are pushed that it's always bad, and the point that I bring this up is because that's politics. That what we do for people is politics. Like how we impact people, it all comes down to our politics. And I know there are many spiritual people who are against and unopen to politics, right? It's like, oh, it's unspiritual. Oh, it's being caught in the matrix. And I think sometimes it comes up, or it's something that the divine puts on my heart a lot, because this system is crumbling. The system is ending. This system is needs to be restructured. And what we need are people who are divinely inspired, divinely connected, who have integrity, who have morality, who know how to move through the matrix and make things happen. People who know how to manifest. People who care about Mother Gaia, the planet. People who care about other people. People who care about people having clean, safe water to drink, right? Those are the people that we need in places to take over leadership as this system crumbles. And the system is crumbling, and the time is ending where we are in a system, we allow the system to remain that only 1% or the top 10% of people benefit, and everybody else is screwed by it. The planet isn't taken care of. The animals aren't taken care of. The people are not taken care of. And this system is at its end. And we need people. We will need people who have the ability and the heart and the insight and the connection to the divine to stand in place and help bring about change that is equitable to everyone. And for instance, like I live in a place where a lot of wealthy retired people move to, and they buy their houses, and the water here is crap, right? I don't drink the water. It's no good. And so all these people come in and they get these anywhere from $20,000 to $40,000 water filtration systems in their homes, right? And they feel good about it. And these people go to church and they feel great on Sunday. And they don't care because they can afford to have safe, clean water, right? But then people who are still in the community without their means are drinking poisoned water, right? Drinking water that's not healthy. That is politics, right? That's politics. And I'm not saying people are good or bad or anything like that. I'm just pointing out how politics impacts everything. And, and it's just a time for change, right? And so where are we? Where are you going to be when that change comes? Are you going to be an avenue, a channel for the divine to move and to make great changes in the world? Like, yes, we do want to manifest great things for our families, and that is wonderful and that is great. But then we also have a greater calling, and not everybody's calling is the same, but we all have a responsibility to love, right, and to give. And then part of that is making things a better place for everybody. Another thing too we were talking about is how he was saying how, well, government doesn't work. These policies, these programs that the government has, that they don't work. And yes, no government is perfect. And I told him that no government is perfect, right? No organization is perfect, because it's full of people and because, whatever. But the concept of government programs not working or not having any impact, most of the time the reason why they don't work is because you have people who constantly are trying to destroy them so that corporations make more money. And let's look at, for instance, healthcare. Like, healthcare could be something that's provided for everybody, right? We pay taxes. It should be covered. Nations on our level of prosperity and education throughout the world, everybody has healthcare, right? It should be a right, not a privilege. But because we are so moved in our country, and government is so infiltrated by lobbyists and the dark money to push these perspectives, and church a lot of time can be a big cesspool for that push, right? That these programs don't work, right? Oh, why are you putting your money towards that? These programs don't work, right? And in reality, what happens is that these corporations or wealthy people push for something to stop being covered by the government. So we pay our taxes. It goes into whatever the program is, right? Let's say it was health insurance. If we pay our taxes, our money goes into to cover health insurance for everybody, right? And then these corporations say, oh, that's not going to work, that's not going to work, and you get enough people to believe that, right? And so then the money that we pay into the government through our taxes that was going to that coverage then goes to a tax break for other people who have the resources to, quote unquote, then provide that same service that we were already getting from our tax money. So our tax money was paying for a service, right, through the government. And so now these people said that's not going to work. So now our tax money goes to a corporation so that they don't have to pay taxes, but they can create the same service and then charge us more money for it and give us less quality, right? That's politics, and that's what happens all the time. And with this, one of the things where am I going with this? I think, starting out with Jesus not being in church, right? Because Jesus, Yeshua, the divine, the Christ, let's call it the Christ, right? Because we are all striving to have Christ-like consciousness, to have Christ consciousness, right? Not Jesus is the white guy that, Yeshua is the person that was actually walking the earth, right? That was his name. Yeshua turned over the tables, right, in the temple, those who were trying to make profit, right? And in that day, church and state, the temple and state, religion and state were the same thing. Everything was moved through religion, so to speak. And those who influenced religion most were those who had the most money, right? And it's the same today. It's just broken up in three fractions or whatever. Or factions, three entities, so to speak, that all converge to move us as people in the same direction. Jesus loved the planet, the land, people. Jesus, Yeshua, Christ loved people. And the calling is for us to love as well, for us to love ourselves, right? And for us to love people. To love your neighbor as yourself, right? Is that not what these scriptures say? They say to love your neighbor as yourself, right? He who doesn't love his neighbor cannot love the divine. And so I just, there's a lot going on in the world, right? And religion doesn't change things, but love does change things, right? Love unifies. Love gets us to stand up for one another, to, in a good way, fight for one another, to care for one another, to defend one another, to protect one another, right? To make sure that we are all provided for. That's what love does. If you're a parent, you know that, right? You want the best for your child, for your, and you don't have to be a parent to know that. You can just be a teacher. You can be a cat lover, right? But love, you see my kitty's booty? Oh, you're acting up. Please stop. Come on. Oh, yes. Go on. Sorry. It always comes back to love, right? To loving the divine, to loving ourselves, to loving. It's so funny because she's trying to get this sock, and so my puppy, the one that is muzzled and is now quiet, loves socks too. And my kitty cat will run around with a sock in her mouth, and my puppy will run around with a sock. My puppy eats the socks. The kitty just kind of plays with them. But back to love. The whole journey we have here in this timeline is to progress through love, right? To learn to love ourselves in a way that that we are open to receiving from the divine, that we are open to receiving the blessings that are gifted to us, that are ours, that are our birthright, right? Whether it be through relationships, through wealth, through love, through experiences. It's all about love. And so I just wanted to pull a card. This is one of my favorite decks, Lightworkers Oracle, and see if there is an inspiration for the Lightworkers that are still listening. The divine has a plan for all of our lives. There's a plan for us. Light workers are needed. My kitty cat is throwing shells on the floor from the table because that's what they like to do. If I start talking, they've got to act up. But that's okay. And let's just see. Can we get one card? Oh, you want to see what card came up? Christ consciousness. Right? Can't make this stuff up. Christ consciousness. Let's read it. We're going to pull, I'm going to pull two more. I think maybe two more cards. One from Telepathy Oracle and then one from Soul Truth. Never used this deck. Let's see. There's like lots of writing on these things. But we're going to read that because, right, that obviously the divine wanted us to talk about this and for me to share this. So We'll look and see what it means for us to walk in Christ consciousness. I mean, I know. Okay, that's a lot. Okay. These cards want to say something. Oh, okay. This is a good one. It says, where am I called to use my voice right now, right? Which kind of relates to what we're talking about. And I think I just said I was going to pull one from there. And then we'll do one oracle. Telepathy. Let's see. Right? I know my view is different than a lot of people. And it's always been different than a lot of people. And I bet your views are different than a lot of people too. And the divine wants to use us who think differently. Those of us who are sensitive. Those of us who have been called. You know, and I know that anybody who listens to me has been called to do great things. And that can mean a whole bunch of different things. But you are special. You are touched. You are divine. You are needed. All right, and so we are going to start out with, let's see what this one says. Ooh. It says, surprise, you may be surprised. Let's see what we're going to be surprised about. Christ consciousness, number 27, from the Lightworkers Oracle. And I still haven't got my contact lenses adjusted. So that's why I have glasses on, because I can't see. 27. Guys, leave a comment. Let me know what you think. I know we like to separate spirituality from politics, but everything intertwines, you know, everything is interconnected. All right, so Christ consciousness. As the vibration of the soul elevates towards the frequency of unlimited resourcefulness of the spiritual dimensions, the heart relaxes with trust and the mind becomes more comfortable letting go and receiving. As you practice sustaining your vibration in this state of graceful trust, you are opening to new ways of both giving and receiving, learning to experience higher frequencies of peace and bliss that happen naturally when resting in divine flow. In such detached openness, divine love flows freely through your soul, and your presence in this world becomes a source of healing. The Christ consciousness at a soul level opens the heart to a new level of abundance, generosity, grace, and unconditional love. Your heart is capable of giving and receiving in increasingly expansive ways, and as you regularly remind yourself of this, you will experience a deeply nurturing spiritual connection that instills you with a sense of peace, courage, and optimism. Christ consciousness is an expression of divine love straight from the universal heart. The Christ consciousness is a divine friend to humanity, unconditionally loving all hearts. His religion is love. His message is compassion. He strengthens the soul to trust and higher guiding wisdom of one's spiritual path above all else. He is a teacher of courage, surrender, and higher understanding that eventually emerges in our hearts as we let go of our opinion about things and become willing to be shown the deeper purpose for soul healing hiding within the circumstances of our lives. When the soul needs deeper alignment with faith to move through a challenging time, the presence of Christ manifests in the inner temple of the heart. His presence is a reading signifies that there is a tremendous capacity in the soul to move through a challenge, and no matter how difficult circumstances may be, the soul will eventually attain spiritual success. In this sense, the presence of Christ is a profound encouragement to continue with one's inner healing journey. To access Christ consciousness within, the soul moves through an ongoing process of spiritual surrender, dropping more deeply into increasingly unconditional trust in one's authentic soul path and the spiritual healing journey. Though there will be questions about the mysteries that one must endure, some profoundly beautiful and others most painful, there will be a sense that somehow all things are leading the soul toward peace, love, and spiritual awakening. The key message of Christ is to trust. I'll just read one more paragraph. On the path to Christ consciousness, the body, mind, and soul receive increasingly spiritual light. Eventually, there is a transmutation and evolution so radical and absolute that the human being is irrevocably changed, becoming a living, embodied expression of pure divine love, will, and power, an unwavering expression of divine love for all who are in need. This process takes lifetimes to complete. To even be on such a path is a mark of spiritual advancement and an opportunity to receive countless blessings to support your own journey and fulfill your soul purpose in serving love. It's a lot here, but we'll stop there. As you grow, you will become more powerful, it says. Christ within your soul and the fulfillment of your spiritual mission this lifetime also opens you to attract prosperity, abundance in whatever ways you want and need to thrive. Let the love in. Trust in love's gentle kindness. It has healing power, and through it, all manner of things are possible. It is time to cast aside doubt and align with love's accomplishing power. And, again, the stuff I was talking about is through love, right? Making changes in the world through love, standing up for one another through love, making sure that needs are met, right? Because we love. Making a change in our system and our structure because of love. All right, and then it says, where am I called to use my voice right now? I've never used these. It says you have a soul script that was written to be spoken. Your story matters, and it is time for you to share it with the world. Today's soul action. Share your story with at least one person today. Be brave, speak your truth. Your voice will be a catalyst for healing others. So again, right? We love through action and word, right? And we share our story. And know that you're needed. You are needed. I'm pretty sure I said that earlier, that if you're listening to this, you're someone who's been touched by the divine. You're someone who hears the divine. You're someone who is striving to walk in light. You are needed. You are needed in the lives of those around you. You're needed. And all right, we're going to end there.